Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, the top candidates for governor are nearing the final push for votes in a tight race, what one candidate was doing in a city just up the road. Developing today, a possible new incentive for police officers in Lexington, what the city may offer and why it's needed. The CDC is voting on booster doses today, how soon you could be getting yours. Affordable housing is becoming harder and harder to find, especially in Rockbridge County, while Habitat for Humanity is doing to try and solve it. All that and more, next on the Rockbridge Report.
Live from the campus of Washington and Lee University with news from Rockbridge County, this is the Rockbridge Report.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Shauna Muckle. Later on, I'll be joined by Jin Nee, Drew Thompson's weather, and James Laverty's sports. Breaking news. The House voted to hold former Trump aide Steve Bannon in contempt for refusing to testify and provide relevant documents to the January 6th committee. We're less than 2 weeks away from the gubernatorial election. A new Monmouth University poll has Terry McAuliffe and Glenn Youngkin nearly tied in a neck-to-neck contest. It's not what has been predicted going into the race, and could explain why McAuliffe spent part of yesterday in Charlottesville's downtown mall.
Terry McAuliffe touched on a variety of issues while in Charlottesville Wednesday afternoon. The impact COVID has had on workers, prioritizing mental health, and focusing on supporting education.
We need you on job creation. We need you lifting people up. And I thought about it, and I thought that's why I could make the biggest difference in life. So I decided to run again.
McAuliffe also underlined his plan to raise teacher pay above the national average.
Going forward, I got 20 big plans about taking Virginia to the next level. We ranked 50th out of 50 states on average teacher pay as it compares the average pay. That is disgraceful for the 10th wealthiest state in America.
All big programs with big impacts and big costs. McAuliffe said he chose to campaign in reliably Democratic Charlottesville to encourage more people to vote early. He'll be back again on Sunday.
We're trying to get to every locality, energize voters. We've only got 13 days left to vote. Trying to remind people early vote. This is really important. In Virginia, we've made it easier for people to vote. And we got to show folks this year that we deserve it and we want to keep it. And that's why we got to have a record vote turnout.
Youngkin held a rally in Chester County last night with the Asian American Pacific Islanders Coalition. NBC4 in Washington reports that in Fairfax County on Wednesday, he continued to push for parental controls in education. Youngkin also said he wants a bigger police presence in schools. A proposal to increase Lexington police officers' salaries will be discussed at tonight's City Council meeting. After enduring 9 departures in the last 18 months, LPD finds itself severely understaffed and is struggling to find replacements. Reporter Ian Dardany tells us about the recruitment and retention efforts.
The Lexington Police Force has dealt with multiple departures of fully trained officers within the last year. Some officers left for higher paying positions, while others simply chose to retire. Mayor Frank Friedman says it's a top priority to replace these officers. A proposal to increase LPD salaries by about 10% will be discussed at tonight's City Council meeting to avoid future departures.
A proposal to increase the funding, or rather the funding and compensation for police officers. So we're hoping to keep and take care of our current and hopefully attract some certified officers in the process.
Some potential employees have applied for a role with LPD, but the department has received only 2 applications from fully certified officers. LPD requires full certification, and that takes over 9 months to complete. Sergeant Scott Fitzgerald explains the process is difficult and very time-consuming.
They'll start early January, run 22 weeks, which is around June, July. Then they have to go take the state certification test and get certified as a police officer. Once they are certified, then they come back to the department and they run through our field training program.
With the recent departures and the lengthy process needed to become fully certified, the current officers have had to carry the load. This means longer shifts and more overtime.
Being understaffed, we're running a lot of shifts that are down to the minimum staffing of 2. And then we're having officers work a lot on their time off. They're coming in and our overtime is definitely increasing. And we have good employees here. We have people that care. They want to serve the community, so they're willing to do that. But eventually that does lead to burnout.
They've done an amazing job given their commitment to our community and the efforts that they've put forward has been huge.
The Lexington Police Department is hopeful that more certified applicants will apply. If they don't, they'll likely have to wait for the non-certified applicants to finish their certification process. In the meantime, the staff will continue to work long hours to serve the community. With the Rockbridge Report, I'm Ian Dartney.
The CDC's vaccine advisors are meeting today, and boosters are on the agenda. Moderna's booster, Johnson & Johnson's booster, and the possibility of mix and match boosters have all been FDA authorized. If the CDC vaccine advisors give the thumbs up, it's up to the CDC's director to make recommendations, and shots could be in arms in a matter of days. Evidence of waning vaccine immunity is what the FDA says drove its decision here. But for now, boosters are only available for people 65 and older in certain at-risk groups, though that could soon change.
I think that data is really emerging that people over 40 probably would benefit. And over time, I can imagine even younger people getting it.
It's data from the NIH that drove the FDA's call on mixing and matching shots, including data that shows a particular benefit of mixing and matching for people who got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Habitat for Humanity is in high demand in Rockbridge County. Reporter Mary Alice Russell went to their latest fundraiser this past weekend. She reports the latest updates on their efforts.
Cook-off and fundraiser for the Rockbridge area's Habitat for Humanity.
We feel like it was a big success. We had close to 150 people, and it's really going to support Habitat, and we hope that the community knows how much we appreciate their support.
Habitat for Humanity builds homes for those in need. At the cook-off, the organization was awarded a $2,000 matching grant from State Farm in partnership with Washington and Lee University's campus chapter. The money raised at the cook-off and from the grant will allow the group to keep building.
Finding affordable housing is even harder than usual in the current competitive nationwide housing market. Local builders like Habitat for Humanity are experiencing high material costs, which are partially caused by the pandemic. Demand for homes in the Rockbridge area is rising as buyers are coming in from out of town. Lexington's small size and limited open land is the main issue as the city government looks for developers to build new housing. To learn more about Tori's story, visit rockbridgereport.wlu.edu. Coming up next on the Rockbridge Report, another national shortage, and it's why you should start your Christmas shopping early.
Hi, I'm Drew Thompson. It'll start feeling more like fall in the next few days with some cooling temperatures. Tune in later for the full weather forecast.
And an update on Biden's infrastructure package. Find out what's getting cut when we come back.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Jin Nee. Toy shops in the U.S. are running out of key products. Some shop owners say they have no idea of what's going to arrive in time. CNN's Claire Sebastian reports.
Staff at this New York City toy store had no idea they'd be getting this delivery of books and toys today, or that all of the orders would be incomplete.
We're placing orders every day, constantly, as many as we can think of. One of my bigger companies, I ordered a huge order in February, and it just shipped a couple of weeks ago. So it's so hard to determine when and if things are going to come.
Christina Clark says she was warned by suppliers to stockpile ahead of the holidays. 85% of all toys sold in the US are imported, according to the Toy Association. And right now, the ships that carry them, mostly from Asia, are stuck in a giant maritime traffic jam, the result of surging demand as economies recover and ongoing COVID-related disruptions.
Well, it's not just a shipping crisis affecting the toy supply chain, there's also port congestion piling on and a shortage of truck drivers to get them to their destination.
That combination of online shopping, COVID shutdowns, resupplying things that were out of stock, and the holidays together have all combined into what, really is a crisis of shipping and a crisis of consumer products.
And it's sending costs skyrocketing.
The average shipping container has gone from somewhere right around $3,000 to around $24,000 on the spot market.
A message to customers: start your holiday shopping now. This won't be over by Christmas. Parents in Rockbridge County are now educating their children in homeschooling pods because of their discontent with pandemic learning and the public school system. These pod schools give students smaller class sizes, personalized curriculum, and allow religion in the classroom. One pod school called Keystone emphasizes parent inclusion in their child's education. Keystone enrolled 45 students in its first year of operation. Rockbridge County Public Schools will lose state aid next year because of the student enrollment lost to the pods. Check out Bree Hatch's full story at the rockbridgereport.wlu.edu. President Biden revealed a new compromise on his social safety net and climate bill. He says the package will now likely be in $1.5 trillion to $2 trillion range. This is further from the $3.5 trillion sought by progressives and closer to Senator Joe Manchin's $1.5 trillion proposed ceiling. Here's some of what's changing. No more 2 free years of community college, a reduction in proposed funding for elderly and disabled home care, and scaling down paid leave from 12 weeks to 4.
These items were found in an area that up until recently have been underwater.
Police unearthed new evidence in the search for Brian Laundrie. We'll have an update. Cold in the morning, hot in the afternoon. Find out more on this weekend's weather forecast with Drew Thompson. Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. A possible end in the search for Brian Laundrie. The FBI is waiting to identify remains found at a nature reserve Wednesday, but questions still remain about his involvement in Gabby Petito's death. CNN's Daryl Forges has the latest on the discovery.
37 days after Brian Laundrie was reportedly last seen, human remains were found in a Florida park.
Probability is strong that it is Brian's remains.
A source close to the investigation says it may take some time to officially identify the remains based on their condition.
These items were found in an area that up until recently have been underwater.
The grim discovery made on the day Laundrie's parents were assisting in the search for their son. According to the family's attorney, Laundrie's father also stumbled upon some of his son's personal items.
At some point, Chris locates what's called a dry bag. The dry bag is a white bag, is laying in the woods, I'll say 20 feet or so off the trail. At that time, law enforcement officers showed him a picture on the phone of a backpack that law enforcement had located also nearby.
Brian Laundrie is considered a person of interest in the death of his fiancée, Gabby Petito. Laundrie refused to talk to law enforcement when Petito's parents reported her missing. Then days later, he also disappeared. His parents gave investigators tips on where Brian liked to hike and camp in the extensive Carlton Reserve, but have otherwise been silent on the advice of their attorney.
Now's not the right time to talk about, the situation with Gabby. Right now, we're going to wait for the forensic results to come in, and, we may revisit this in the future.
In Northport, Florida, I'm Daryl Forges.
Humans have emitted so much carbon dioxide into the atmosphere that there are now machines being used to literally suck the gas back in, like giant vacuum cleaners. Weather anchor Drew Thompson tells us more.
It's an attempt to slow the climate crisis and prevent some of its most devastating consequences. The Orca plant is known as a direct air carbon capture facility. Its creators and operators are the Swiss firm Climeworks and Icelandic company Carbfix. The goal of Orca is to help the world reach net zero emissions, which means removing as much greenhouse gas from the atmosphere as is emitted. The machines use chemical filters to capture the heat-trapping gas. The fans suck in the surrounding air and filter out the carbon dioxide so it can be stored. Orca opened last month and currently removes about 10 metric tons of carbon dioxide every day. That is about the same amount emitted by 800 cars a day in the U.S. It's also about the same amount of carbon 500 trees could soak up in a year. Hi, we're here with a live look at Greenhouse Village. Current conditions today, there was a high of 77 and a low of 50. The barometric pressure is standing steady at 29 and 98 inches of mercury. The wind speed is 12 miles per hour and the humidity is standing steady at 48%. A quick look at radar here. As you can see, there's some cloud coverage out in West Virginia, but out here it's all clear. And a quick look at regional temperatures. It is 80 degrees in Charlottesville right now, 74 degrees in Buena Vista, 74 degrees in Lexington, 75 degrees in Lexington, 74 degrees in Stanton, 78 degrees in Lynchburg, 76 degrees in Covington, and 68 degrees and for the 5-day forecast, Friday, sunny the next few days, Friday high of 68, a low of 46, Saturday a high of 66 and a low of 43, Sunday a high of 72 and a low of 50, Monday there'll be a chance for some rain with a high of 71 and a low of 50, and Tuesday also some chance for rain, a high of 61 and a low of 43. Coming up next, the new places you can exercise in Lexington. We have details about your choices. And the White House's favorite farm. Learn more about why this farmer's Christmas trees keep getting picked.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. The fitness scene in downtown Lexington is blooming, and you now have the most options ever for your next workout. Simona Radova reports about the 2 new fitness studios in town.
COVID might not be over, but Lexington's residents are eager to return to their normal routines. New fitness options opened up in town during the pandemic, and locals feel encouraged to get back in shape. Red Dowdell opened his training studio, Rockbridge Barbell, in mid-March.
We kind of specialize in the coaching side of things, so personal and group training, making sure people have instruction, they have a plan.
Rockbridge Barbell also operates as an open gym. One of Dowdell's main goals was to make the gym less intimidating and more accessible to people in the community.
Our fitness reality is that if you want to get something done, if you want to bike here, there's a place to bike. If you want to run, there's a place to run. We all have our piece in it.
Dowdell wanted to simply add something new to the fitness scene in Lexington, and he's not the only one to do so. Courtney May Cabanis opened Electric Pilates on September 11th.
It offers very small group fitness to the community that is really well-rounded.
Electric Pilates isn't the only Pilates option in town, but it's the only one with a heating component, meaning that the room is heated to over 90 degrees.
This is a hard workout, and then it just kind of excels it, and you're really challenging yourself in here, which helps you to meet real challenges in real life.
Lexi Baumeier, a student at Washington and Lee University, started teaching at Electric Pilates as soon as it opened.
This is such a good place to get away from the stressors of the world and from the pandemic and from schoolwork and everything else.
Baumeier often meets other Washington and Lee students in her classes.
I try to go to the gym, but I think that having fun places in town like Pilates and spin classes are a good way to get me motivated to work out when I'm surrounded by people.
Electric Pilates also offers free of charge community classes that Cabanis says are perfect for beginners. For the Rockbridge Report, this is Simona Radova.
And with local fitness centers comes local athletes. The Rockbridge County High School football team cruised to a 5-2 record with a dominating victory over the Waynesboro Little Giants, 36-10. After a 35-14 victory in a Tuesday night makeup game, the Rockbridge County Wildcats won 3 games in an unheard of 8 days. They play tomorrow night at Broadway High School as they try and improve to 6-2. The Perry McClure football team had a victory of their own as they beat Craig County 40-0. It was a ground and pound type of game as Ethan Moore ran for 2 touchdowns and Keaton Coleman had 2 of his own, including a 55-yarder. They go on the road to Covington tomorrow night as they try and improve to 5-3. And here on campus, the Washington and Lee football team was finally able to deliver a stress-free fourth quarter for their fans as they beat Newport News on October 9th, 42-13. Josh Brees tacked on another 79 yards and a touchdown, while Jacob Romero rushed for 81 yards on just 5 carries and a touchdown. After a bye week, the Generals will return to the field as they host Bridgewater this Saturday at 1 p.m. The Washington and Lee soccer team stayed undefeated as they tied Roanoke yesterday at home 1-1 in double overtime. You can see that goal right here. The 11-0-2 Generals will host Randolph-Macon at home this Saturday for a homecoming and senior day event. With Allison Parker Watt Field and Wilson Field just hundreds of feet away from each other, we should expect some really big crowds as hundreds of alumni will be back on campus for the first time since the start of the pandemic. And in baseball, the World Series is almost set, as last night the Houston Astros took a 3-2 lead on the Boston Red Sox after winning both games 4 and 5. They take the series back to Houston as they look to win their 3rd AL pennant in 5 years, but the first since they were exposed for a massive cheating scandal. In the National League, the Braves took a 3-1 lead over the Dodgers as they look to clinch the series in LA tonight as they hand the ball off to Max Fried. It would be their first World Series appearance since they got swept by the Yankees in 1999. However, it's worth noting that the Braves also took a 3-1 lead in the NLCS over the Dodgers last year. Definitely some intrigue in any of these possible World Series matchup. First, you look at the Dodgers-Astros, which would be a rematch of the 2017 series, where the Astros infamously cheated their way to victory, and the Dodgers in this year would be seeking revenge. A Braves-Astros World Series would be a rematch of 4 different NLCS matchups, as the Astros played in the National League up until 2013. And a Red Sox-Dodgers matchup would be a rematch of the 2018 World Series. And a quick look ahead tonight for the Thursday night football matchup between the Browns and the Denver Broncos. Both teams are 3-3, but what's usually a really fun Browns team to watch is without their 2 starting running backs, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, and they may be without their quarterback, Baker Mayfield. The Broncos look to stop a 3-game skid after starting the season 0-3-0. Cleveland goes into the game only favored to win by 1.5, and Cortland Sutton and Teddy Bridgewater are seen as the top 2 fantasy picks for tonight. And it's not even Halloween yet, but the holidays take a lot of preparation. White House staff traveled to North Carolina to pick out this year's Blue Room Christmas tree. Steve Onesorge reports.
With what seemed like a caravan in tow, White House Grounds Superintendent Dale Haney led the picking process in Ashe County.
Yeah, I don't see any holes in this tree either.
They had plenty of trees to choose from. This field of giants is part of Peak Farms, and grower Rusty Estes has been through this before.
It's the ultimate as a tree grower.
This is the 3rd time a tree from his farm is headed to the Blue Room. White House officials say it's a habit they like.
Because we can always find the right trees here.
They searched a couple of hours yesterday, and today it was time to pick just one. They did.
I think this is it.
A 19-foot-tall Fraser fir, made official with the official ribbon. And let's not forget the handshakes. It is a donated tree, after all.
Thank you. Thank you, James.
And soon the real work will begin. They'll cut the tree later next month and then ship it up to Washington, D.C., and present it to the First Lady on the Saturday before Thanksgiving.
That's all for today's edition of the Rockbridge Report. Keep up to date on more regional news by visiting rockbridgereport.wlu.edu. And join us again on Tuesday for a Rockbridge Report live update.